Welcome to the Partnership Podcast. We are planting seeds with the partnership. This is a new endeavor for us. My name is Kayla Godby. I will be your host for the duration of the podcast, and this is our inaugural show. I'm super excited because our first guest is the phenomenal executive director of the partnership, Danielle Johnson. She is an amazing person. Her bio is extensive. She is a great leader, and I can say that firsthand, and she's not paying me any extra to say that. But she is just an awesome leader, very educated, very driven, never wants us to get in a comfortable place. And so I think it would be amazing for you all to learn about the partnership, Durham's Partnership for Children, who we are, and why we work the way that we do, and what seeds have been planted into us by our leadership. So without further ado, we're going to talk to none other than Ms. Danielle Johnson. Danielle, how are you?
I am well today, Kayla. Thank you so much. And I had to just laugh at your disclaimer that I did not pay you to say that. So I'm really appreciative to hear your honest feedback and opinion on my leadership. So I appreciate it, and I appreciate you. So thank you. Yes, ma'am.
I just am super excited to kind of dig some things out and let the audience get to know you a little bit more. It's an honor to work for you, but I think they need to know why. I think they need to know the caliber of leadership that we have. You have 2 master's degrees, one in public health, one in education. You're working on a doctorate right now. I mean, you are thebomb.com. Like, we all want to be like you when we grow up. So
I wish you could see me blushing, like through the. I wish you could see. I'm awesome. Like, oh my gosh.
So I just firstly want to know I know the roots run deep for you, but I want the audience to understand your background. You're from New York, and this runs deep for you. This program runs deep for you as far as early Head Start and just early childhood education in general. So can you tell us what your background is and your roots, and how soon did this endeavor start for you? You were born for this.
Okay, great. Thanks. So as you mentioned, I am from New York City. I am from the Mecca of Harlem. I am just a proud Harlemite. And I say that because, again, that's like a cultural melting pot. You know, very prominent Black African Americans were from Harlem. And I think that kind of like the whole Harlem Renaissance is just embedded in us as the Harlemites, where we just have a very strong sense of community, a strong sense of culture. And as you mentioned, these roots run deep because my mom was a deputy director for a Head Start program in our community. So yes, I'm also a proud product of Head Start. I am also a proud product of public housing. I grew up in the projects, in King Towers to be exact. And that was a community. It was a family. We had what was called the center. And in that center is where my mom's program was, the Head Start program. So I attended that program with my peers, with different family members. So it was always a sense of community, a sense of connectivity, a sense of belonging, a sense of acceptance, where the community looked out for the children. So we were very much a focal point in our community. Children were very much in high regard, that they wanted us to be protected. They wanted us to be educated. So that is definitely where my roots started. Also, as I mentioned, my mom, her program, I like to look at it as a continuum of life, because through her organization, they also had a senior citizens program where they provided hot meals for seniors. And it was like a recreational spot for them as well, that's where I learned how to play dominoes with some of my Hispanic fellow aunties. You know, many of us in those kind of communities, we call our extended neighbors and extended community members aunties and uncles. So I learned how to play dominoes with my Puerto Rican uncles and aunties at this senior citizens program. Also through her program, there was a summer feeding component where they partnered with a shelter in the Bronx where they provided hot summer meals, breakfast, lunch, and snacks. So again, I grew up seeing this lens of just community organizing and supporting families through different hardships and helping to empower and equip and just being parent advocates. So that lens was instilled in me very early on in life. I ended up volunteering with her program, myself and my peers when we were in high school. school, we selected my mom's program as our volunteer hub, where we worked with the family services component of the program. Some of us volunteered in the classroom. Some of us did recruitment and outreach. So again, at a very, very early age, I understood the importance of family, of community, and of how to honor culture. So that is very big in my leadership, is honoring culture and parent voice.
Wow, that's really, really good. And that's a lot. That's a positive, you know what I mean? That's a positive impact that you had early on, because a lot of people now see community as, butting into my business and things like that. But you all really took the village approach.
Oh, yes, definitely.
That's amazing. And we always see that in your leadership style. You talk about the partnership being a tapestry, and using all of the different approaches from the different walks of life that you have under your leadership to communicate that to the community, that say, hey, we look like you, we look just like you, and this is how diverse we are, and this is how we're going to help you. So I know in other conversations you've told me about the generational impact that Early Head Start has had on you. So you were a product of Early Head Start, and your daughter was as well?
Well, actually, I was a product of Head Start. So at that time, Head Start was the only program that was still in operation. So and I want to tell, well, no, it's okay, because my birthday is this month, but I am, of a certain age. And so I was a Head Start baby, that 3 to 5 component. Now, working in Brooklyn, that is when I was introduced to that full continuum of early Head Start, and universal pre-K. So I worked in Brooklyn for 10 years. And at the first, my first approach to the program was, we were a CCD kind of block grant program, where we had different components that very much mirrored Head Start. And it was during that time that our leadership decided to apply for the Head Start grant and was awarded that grant. So then from there, we implemented Head Start. We identified a building, and which is why I love that one-stop shop approach, because in our building, we actually had a rooftop playground that I was responsible for developing, helping with the design and implementation of that piece. So I was just really excited to, again, that innovation and creativity. And once we had the Head Start program, we then applied for the Early Head Start component of the grant. We received that award, thankfully, and that's when we started implementing Early Head Start. So again, very appreciative of the opportunities that I was afforded, because I was able to, it's always interesting. I'm very grateful to have opportunities to build things, which is why you guys will always hear me say, I love program design, implementation, and evaluation, because that's my background as well. We design these Head Start and Early Head Start programs with the performance standards in mind, but the feel and the tapestry of the program was what we created. So we were able to, again, create what we needed to serve the community in Brooklyn. It was in Fort Greene, Brooklyn. And we then applied for what was called at the time Universal Pre-K. So then we were able to serve 4-year-olds. So, we had the entire continuum in that one building. So it was just really amazing. We had, on-site cooking instructions and lessons. Again, just very much culturally a responsive approach to how we delivered and developed our programs. Very much, again, parent-centered, parent-oriented. That parent voice was very strong, where we really relied heavily on hearing and soliciting ideas and feedback from our parents.
Wow, that's good. That's good. And that shows the importance of getting the parents involved. That's why, on Planting Seeds with the Partnership, we talk about family, education, and community. And so getting the community and the parents involved, because we understand that we can't serve them without understanding what they need.
Correct.
And so that's amazing leadership within itself. I'd like to kind of pivot towards your leadership style within the partnership and how you've made the partnership a literal melting pot. Explain to the audience your approach to diversity and why that's so important to you.
Okay. Well, again, I like to say I'm a very intentional individual. I rarely do anything out of hapstance. There's always a rhyme and reason behind my decisions and actions. So I just remember how it felt to see teachers that looked like me, that encouraged me, that, corrected me, that challenged me, that, again, that sense of community and family, and seeing those teachers also instilled in me wow, maybe I could be like her one day. or the same thing with my mom. Seeing her in leadership was like, wow. And at the time, I didn't really understand it. But again, as I, attended schools and learned different philosophies and approaches, I understood that affirmation that a child needs, that representation that a child needs is very important, and that support.
Mm-hmm.
So when looking at the partnership, I was again grateful for the opportunity to identify staff. And I wanted the staff to represent the community at large, the community that we were serving. So our team is very diverse. I mean, we have individuals from South America. We have individuals from the continent of Africa. We have a regional representation. So we have people from the Northeast, Southeast. We're, again, sometimes they say you could take the girl out of the city, but you can't take the city out of the girl. I mean, I think I subconsciously reinvented my own melting pot of Brooklyn and New York and Manhattan at the partnership, because that's, again, what I was exposed to. We have what's called the African market, where there's a marketplace literally across the street from my building, my grandmother's building. And it's comprised of different individuals from different countries on the continent of Africa. You have people from the Congo, from Senegal, from Cameroon, from Ghana, just all over. So I kind of took that concept, and at the partnership, again, wanted to have that representation and that, just to represent the community in which we serve. So that is why I was very adamant that we diversified our staff. And I must say, it worked out very well. We have such a diverse staff, both with skill sets. We each bring so much to the partnership, our different perspectives, our different cultures. So it just makes it a great, thriving, bustling place of energy to really work. So I'm appreciative of that.
Agreed. I would say that the way it is constructed, how diverse it is, your tapestry analogy that you often use is so true. I mean, we are all different. We have different skill sets. We contribute to the partnership in a different way. We work differently, but there's something about being made to come together and understand each other's differences and reason with each other. I think that makes us better people at the end of the day. So exactly. I appreciate that experience. A lot of people don't get that from work. A lot of people say, oh, I'm going to check in, I'm going to my 9 to 5, and they, don't really enjoy it. But I think it's a different environment to enjoy your leadership, to enjoy your coworkers, and be able to really create and work with them. That's a whole different environment that we just can definitely give kudos to you for even creating that environment for us. So
thank you, because I really tried hard to create a culture, just a work culture that honored individuals and respected this space to be creative. I really wanted to be, again, intentional on creating a space where we could just flesh out ideas, where we could hear from the community, from our parents, and then from there create. So I'm just so grateful. Sometimes I laugh because you guys are like, oh my gosh, what is she thinking of now? But it's always done in love and received in love, because again, we're always looking outside the box. How can we be creative? Which is why I was so grateful. I mean, I talk about you guys so often in different arenas of my life. And I tell people the one constant is that I have such a creative, knowledgeable, and fluid staff that I still marvel at the fact that when we closed our doors, face-to-face doors, on March 16th, that we were able to pivot so quickly and with excellence and accuracy, implement in 2 days a virtual platform of all of our program offerings. Like, it was so amazing. And then we created new ones at the same time. So that speaks volumes. So again, as much as you guys say that you admire my leadership, I admire your tenacity, I admire your skill set, I admire your passion. I always tell you guys, keep that passion. That passion will feed and propel you forward. And I'm just so grateful to have an amazing team at the partnership.
And that also brings me to my next point. I wanted to inquire, what was it like for you, or what was your biggest lesson? We're now a year into quarantine. We've been working from home this whole time, and I can say I appreciate you caring so much about our well-being, because there are a lot of people that aren't able, and you've made ways for us to continue, and we've even grown at the partnership during the pandemic. So what is the biggest takeaway that you've had, and what is something that has awed you in this moment? I mean, for us to be growing is amazing. So can you speak on that for us?
Exactly what you just said. I am in awe that in the midst of crisis, in the midst of social unrest at the time, in the midst of so many challenges, that we were able to band together. And I hate to keep saying it, but that was intentional. I never wanted you guys to feel disconnected. I never wanted our families to feel disconnected. So there was times my mom would say to me, because she was here visiting from New York this whole time since the pandemic, and she's just like, you need to go to sleep. You need to rest. Because it was almost like I couldn't sleep because my mind was in constant overdrive of, okay, how can I ensure staff to feel, again, connected to the work and to each other and to the commitment and vision of the partnership, while still honoring what we're going through, honoring those emotions, because those are real, those are valid. And was, again, as you mentioned, I had to get creative. So we would have things such as a virtual holiday luncheon, where, the partnership had lunch catered, and we created the logistics to ensure that there was, safety precautions remaining in place. We were able to do curbside grab and go of the meals that staff were able to select, and still, again, feel connected to each other. We would have our Zoom calls where we're all on. We would be creative and create things like our favorite t-shirt day. So just being intentional of how we plan to remain connected to each other. I was amazed again at how staff pivoted so quickly and created things such as Take Care Tuesday, or our Dolly Parton Imagination Library reading on Wednesdays, or how our Taylor created her teacher platform and professional development. So there was always constant creativity and connectivity. The double C's, creativity and connectivity, is what really impressed me and had me in awe, and wanting to continue to authentically feed that and not just make it robotic, but find ways we will do just check-ins to say, Kayla, how are you? How is Kayla the person? You guys would hear me say that every time we checked in and had meetings. I would start off with, how are you? I want to see you. I want to know what you're feeling, what's going on in your space, because we were dealing with a lot. Myself personally, I want to say of April last year, I lost so many family members, like back to back, especially right around this time, actually, as I think about it. So it was just that constant checking in on each other. We created our, we already had that, but our text message list, which we started before the pandemic. So that was another way for us to stay connected, to share our food. Like, hey, here's what I'm eating for lunch. What are you eating? Just silly random things, just to feel connected and to kind of,
we celebrate each other's birthdays.
Oh yeah, that doesn't stop. That's been a tradition at the partnership well before I even started. So just, finding creative ways to honor staff and the work, so that the work doesn't become mundane or drudgery, but it almost became an outlet for us. That was our common language, where we kind of felt safe and in control. Believe it or not, our work, I think, kind of served as something that was stable and consistent. And in early childhood, those are primary. Children need to have structure, they need to feel safe, and they need to feel nurtured. And that's what we did with each other. We modeled that behavior with our staff.
Awesome. And so now I want us to touch on, I know this was pre-COVID, but I think it's something that definitely needs attention and light brought to it, was your educational endeavors and entanglement. I'll say entanglement. I like that. With Ghana and Rwanda. And I know you just went to Rwanda, but just working with Ghana on their, expanding our teachers' experience and helping them learn what goes on internationally and how you are merging the two. Give us a little bit of information.
Okay, great. So I call those are like my passion projects. Actually, that term was coined by Brittany, our director of programs. She said, you always have to keep one of your passion projects. And I must say, the teacher development and early childhood connectivity of African countries is definitely a passion project, because I'm very much passionate about globalized early childhood education, with my focus areas being countries on the continent of Africa, starting with West Africa, which is Ghana. And I've been working and visiting with them since 2016. Yeah. And it's all about relationships. So I couldn't do this from the onset. So when I first went in 2016, it was about just cultivating those relationships that I had established actually virtually through my application process for a Fulbright, which unfortunately I did not receive. But that process allowed me to create some really long-lasting relationships. So when I did not receive the Fulbright, I still had this desire and passion to continue the work that I had proposed to do through my application. And I reached out to those different entities in Ghana. It was the University of Ghana, a early childhood program on the local level, which had two programs. One was in Accra and the other one was in Kumasi in Ghana. And I also reached out to the Ministry of Education in Ghana, which is like our Department of Instruction, that kind of entity, that government piece. And I was able in 2016 to meet with the director of early childhood education at the university and the director of the program in Accra. And it was just so eye-opening, just refreshing. And I went in as a blank canvas because my focus was to identify and find out what is the face of early childhood in Ghana? What does it look like? And I didn't want to generalize because, again, I only went to two components of a early childhood system in Ghana, but I just wanted to get a glimpse to see what was it like. And it was interesting because I discovered they were kind of encountering the same cultural missing elements as we were in America. So they were really big on, they introduced me rather to how to use local materials to create learning manipulatives and products for children in the classroom. Like, I was so impressed how they use sandpaper as a tracing material for children to discover how to trace and write out their ABCs. Yes, It was just amazing. So they used a lot of natural products. So we brought the two bodies of educators together, those from Ghana and our NC Pre-K teachers in Durham, North Carolina. And we had a virtual session of community practice, meaning, we looked at what does culturally responsive education look like here in our NC Pre-K classrooms, and what does it look like in your classrooms in Accra in Ghana. And it was amazing. The feedback was so, oh my gosh, the teachers were just like amazed. One even said, this was the first time that I've connected with someone on the continent of Africa. Like, I never thought I would be able to talk with someone from Africa. So it was just an eye-opening experience for our educators and for those in Ghana who, was just as equally impressed with the work that we do. So I'm hoping to build on that work. Again, because of the pandemic, it really shut down a lot of, additional planning that we were looking to do because schools were closed both here in the States as well as in Ghana. So, we're looking to reintroduce that to see what kind of shape it can take. As you mentioned, I recently returned back from Rwanda, kind of doing the same process. And again, folks are just equally impressed with us as we are with them. So I'm looking to, I worked with a program in Kigali, which is the capital city in Rwanda. And I am now serving on a board for an organization called Teach Rwanda, which is doing such amazing work on the ground and just looking to connect, again, our schools with those schools to create a global bridge where teachers can peek into the window and world of Kigali, Rwanda, and the teachers from Kigali, Rwanda can peek into the world of educators here in Durham, North Carolina. So I'm excited to do this global work. And it's also going to be part of my dissertation because, again, that passion is just so deep that I would like to see this work replicated eventually one day.
I love that. That hunger is still there. You're not the executive director that's comfortable, but you are literally continuing to be hungry and push the boundaries. So that's amazing. One of my last points that I really want to touch on, because I think it's a notable, is that you are the first African American executive director of the partnership. How does that feel? Has that set in? How are you feeling?
I am still on cloud 99.9. I'm just, first of all, my grandmother, who has transitioned, she prophesied to me, I want to say like a year before she transitioned. She said to me, I really believe that you will be leading the partnership. And I was like, huh, Graham? Like, what do you mean? And unfortunately, she was not able to see it come to pass. But her sister, my great aunt, she is still here and very much what I call the golden girl. And she says to me, your grandmother is so proud of you and just smiling down on you. And that is what I take with
Mm.
me, because it is on her shoulders and my mom's shoulders and the other women who have poured so much into me, on their shoulders, that I stand and I say, like, this is for you guys. This is for you as well as much it is for me, because they all equipped me to be prepared for this time and this space and this seat. So I am forever grateful. I am humbled by it. I do not take it light. It is a huge charge and endeavor to lead such an amazing organization that has such a strong foundation. So it wasn't as if I was walking into shambles, not at all. I walked into a well established organization that had strong roots in the Durham community, that understood quality early childhood education and the strategies that were needed to, continue to move forward. So I am grateful that I often tell people what I do, although it is very hard, strenuous work and it's impactful work, it doesn't feel like work. It feels like I'm walking out my destiny, my purpose. I often tell people I tried to run from early childhood. My focus was to work for the CDC. My background is heavily in public health and community health education. That's what I have my bachelor's in. I have a bachelor's in science and community health education. So my thought was to really work on maternal child health. And that program in Brooklyn kind of called and lured me in. And from there, I've never left, to the point where I remember calling my mom saying, before we became the Head Start and early Head Start programs, I said, I think I work for Head Start, but I'm not sure, because we're not Head Start, but it's so reminiscent and the components of Head Start are here. So yeah, I often say that this work called me, that this is part of my destiny to walk out this purpose and passion. So I am forever honored and grateful to be the first Black woman to lead this organization. And I'm hoping to lead it by leaps and bounds into the next level. So I'm grateful. I'm appreciative.
That's amazing. So lastly, I just want you to, in closing, give us a favorite saying, a nugget, something that we can take away with us that gets you through all the time, something that's inspirational that you want us to take away from this interview.
Okay, so I'm sitting right now in my home office, and I brought my turtles from the office home. So they are figurine turtles that I collect. Whenever I travel anywhere, or if folks are traveling, they often say, well, what do you want me to bring you back? And I'll say, if you can find a turtle, I will be forever grateful. So I have turtles that I've either collected or others have gifted me with. And some are porcelain, some are wooden. Like I have this one I'm looking at right now. I call her a she. She is a wooden turtle from Kenya. I have some that are from Ghana. I have one that my mom just recently bought for me. And those turtles are my focus points. So when I'm feeling overwhelmed, when I'm feeling discouraged, I look at my turtles. And the reason why is because turtles move slowly but intently. And that for me is to remind myself, slow progress is still progress. As long as you're moving forward, you're making progress. If you have to take a pause, you do so, but you continue to walk forward and make your progress. So I would say that, as well as grace for the space. And I had to develop that because when I started off as the ED, I didn't give myself grace. Because I'm a very ambitious individual, I wanted to, hit the ground and succeed from day one. And it's not possible. I had to, there's certain nuances and intricacies of this seat and role that I did not know until I had to sit in it. But because again, that high achiever and that ambitious individual that I am, I was like, oh, you should have known this. And I had to learn, no, you need to give yourself grace for the space as you're now learning in this new space. So that is what I often tell staff. Give yourself grace for the space as well as others. Because sometimes, we don't know what other people are dealing with, what they're trying to cope with. And we need to extend grace to them as well, as we all try to navigate and collectively work through this society and through early childhood education. So definitely grace for the space. And find you some cute turtles to collect. They're adorable.
Yes, I love it. So I just want to thank you, Danielle, for spending time with us, letting the audience in on who you are as a leader. I think it's much needed information. I think that it's a super beneficial conversation. I love when people personally learn about organizations a little deeper than what they see. I think it brings new light to the work. So thank you for joining me. I really appreciate just talking to you and you imparting those words with
Well,
us.
Kayla, I thank you. I'm so excited that you have given birth not only to our great Kennedy, but you've given birth to this podcast. So I appreciate the vision that you created for this platform for us. And I'm excited to see the next episodes and where we're going to go with this new endeavor of the podcast of Planting Seeds with the Partnership. So thank you so much, Kayla.
Thank you. So you all have been listening to Planting Seeds with the Partnership. This is Kayla Godby, your host. If you have any suggestions for any topics that you want to know about as a parent, a community member, feel free to email me at kayla@dpfc.net. And don't forget to visit our website at www.dpfc.net to look at any of our programs. Thank you so much, and we will talk to you next time.